very, very much for that kind introduction. I hate to be reminded of how much I've done and how old I really am. You forgot to mention one of my favorite titles, however, and one of my favorite jobs, and that's grandfather. So one of the guilty pleasures I have after retiring from the Air Force is that I can finally speak a little more freely. Now I do have sort of the corporate, handlers that want me not to get too far out of hand, but it is a relief to be able to speak a little more freely. So can everybody hear me in the back? Is that
yeah, we're good.
Okay, great. I'd like to share some of my observations about old space transitioning into new space. Now, I've been with ATK 5 years. I was an independent consultant for a while after getting out of the Air Force, and then with ATK, and I found them to be one of the more innovative places to land. I didn't want to be a small cog in a big machine, so that's why I ended up at ATK. By the way, short advertising pitch. ATK is in pretty much every spacecraft and launch vehicle made in the US and globally, whether it's pressure vessels, solar arrays, deployment mechanisms, antennas, structurals, integrated thermal systems, heat pipes, et cetera, et cetera. We're in everything, and we developed sort of a culture of support. We're not the prime on very many things, but we are a teammate of almost everything in space. So let me tell you about our adventures in trying to broach into new space from old space. And consistent with my main title of grandfather, I'm going to start with a little bit of a story about one of my daughters. And I don't know how to change the chart, so I just hit the button here, the go button. ATK has spared no expense on these charts. I know because I did them myself at home. And I need to tell you a little story. This is all true. It's about, if any of you have daughters and you've ever gotten in cars, you all have stories like this. I will tell you at the start of this story that absolutely nobody is injured at all on this, so you can relax. I know there's a tension there when you worry somebody's going to get hurt or injured. None of that, okay? So just relax and enjoy. So she's a junior in college. It's time for her to get a car. And so we went out and purchased, I did the research, got the safest car I could. Inexpensive, cute little car, red to match her school colors, so she drove it down to college. My wife and I sort of were worried the whole time. She got there, went through the whole first quarter, got back in one piece. Okay, we're good. So she went off to a course in Europe, one of her summer courses, and within 15 minutes of her departing on the airplane, my wife got in the car, the new red car, and totaled it. She was hit on the side. The car was absolutely totaled. And because they'd done the research in getting the safe one, it had side airbags, it had top airbags, it had wheel airbags, it had everything. And nobody was hurt. Now, the other driver who hit my wife did not speak English, but we communicated very clearly that we didn't want the police, that she didn't want the police. Okay, so that wasn't going to happen because we completely destroyed that intersection. And at the end of the day, my insurance company, USAA, and put in a shout out for USAA, and we'll hear more about them later in this story, not only paid the full replacement price for the car, but an additional $2,000 more than what I paid for the car, so this was all good. What I did after that was, of course, daughter's still overseas. I went out and bought the exact same red car, right? So she gets the car back, goes to school. It's in Georgia. Shout out for Georgia. If you're dogs out there. In Georgia, they have these big monster pickup trucks. You know, multiple back wheels, rifles in the back window. You know, country western music playing loud out of the thing. So this monster pickup truck leaving the parking lot of a shopping mall changes its mind. Oh, not going to turn right, going to turn left. Backs up over the red car. So my daughter got very acquainted with the tread marks on this giant truck in the windshield of her car. The car was not drivable after that. So, but it was okay because the driver was a Navy SEAL going to college, going to training next week, and his passenger was an Air Force ROTC cadet. This was good for 2 dates for my daughter. So the car was expendable in that case. And USAA came to the rescue again, no hassles. We took the car to the repair shop, Eddie's, and we'll get to know Eddie pretty well by the end of this story. USAA footed the bill for a rental car while her car was being repaired. And in a stunning and weird science fiction-like manner, the random rental car that was provided was the exact same red car. At first I thought they fixed it and brought it back. No, this was the same car, but from a rental company. Okay, probably 2 weeks later, Georgia, dark night, late, bad neighborhood, no street lights. Daughter swerves to avoid somebody walking in a darkened street and hits a parked car in the 3rd lane, the middle lane of a 3-lane road. Okay, surly guys walking around, pregnant girl in the car that she hit. Don't call the police, repeated over and over again. One of my daughter's sorority sisters pulls up next to her in the car. Is everything okay? Call the police. Well, the police got there pretty quickly. They arrested at least one of the surly fellows that were milling around. They thanked my daughter for their help in breaking up this gang. And I'm not sure how she got home, but she did. Meanwhile, we took the car back to Eddie's, and he just sighed. Okay, so it probably wasn't a couple of days later, one of her sorority sisters backed into her car and pretty much took the side of the car off. So, back to Eddie's. At this point, there's little tears in his eyes. Oh, by the way, on the rental car, failed to sign up for rental car insurance, so that $2,000 I gained the first time, I was out $2,000 because I hadn't paid for rental car insurance. So be careful of your insurance here. All right, car's fixed, hits back. Yeah, that's right. Daughter rear ends a pickup truck with no tail lights, a dozen workers in the back of the truck, none of whom spoke English. No damage to the truck. The front of the car not working anymore. They're not anxious to call the police, and neither is my daughter. So we took it back to Eddie. Now Eddie's just in tears at this point. He's not quite sure what to do with it. It's still drivable, so he sort of pulls the front out. She takes it back to the sorority parking lot, and you guessed it, that night, her open window, she hears revelers in the parking lot, screeching wheels, crash, okay? The group gets out. She knew that it was her car. I mean, you didn't even have to look. And they were stunned at the amount of damage that they had done to that car. Well, it was a rich sorority sister. Her father agreed to pay the difference of the damage. Long story short, he never pays. Car is sent back to Eddie. He's just a mess now. He's sobbing. He's starting to take it personally, which is not good. There is more to the story on here, but I'm going to stop here because her older sister, my other daughter, at this point did what they call an intervention, and I thought it would be an intervention with my daughter, but she went right to me, grabbed me by the lapels, shook me and said, "Dad, why? Why do you keep buying the same car and expecting a different result?" Okay, so you can, believe me, there's more to this true story over a beer tonight, perhaps. I'd like to tell you. At this point, both daughters moved to New York City. I sold the red car. It looked like it was in pristine condition, but I sold it to a car auction, and I was told that it was sold to Al-Qaeda as a roadside IED. But I'm not really sure where it ended up. Okay, so what? So what are the lessons learned for NewSpace here? Well, let me take a shot at it. First of all, nobody wants to call the police. There's already a lot of regulation, and when we're trying to, at least my experience with Vivisat and some of the other new innovative NewSpace things that we're trying to do, we are not looking for new rules or new speed limits from the government or anybody else. I think we're looking for creative ways to make progress with our commercial and other products. So that, I think, is one of the lessons. Number two, insurance is absolutely important. Underwriters rock. They have enabled all of the businesses that we've started, like Vivisat and some others, which we can talk about later. Dads always pay. I mean, I'm a sucker for my daughter. I'm also a sucker for the businesses and the visions that we have. If you love it, you're going to give it everything you got. Hook, line, sinker, dollars, love, passion, everything. And I found that to be totally true in this NewSpace community. Cultures sometimes don't communicate well. I'll explain a little more later, but trying to explain some of these passions and differences in approach to an old space company about some NewSpace products is kind of challenging. But often there's a sort of an unstated agreement that you can muddle through with. Unmanned is safer than manned. I think I'm talking about airbags here. And that there's a lot of ways that you can use robotics instead of putting a person in harm's way, but I won't dwell on that because you need both. You never know who you're going to go to the dance with. There's opportunities and accidents and mashups and making connections like we do here at this conference and just unexpected meetings. And as I'll explain more, your business case is in constant motion. And you need to be looking for all of these connections all the time. So I'm a space guy, but sometimes terrestrial systems are enough. Now I know, some of the discussions today were with balloons and high altitude, and I know Virgin is a suborbital trip, etc. That's all really cool, and it needs to happen, and it's part of the bigger weave. So you can't get so caught up in the space part of it that you miss sight that there's a terrestrial portion as well. At some level, everybody fibs in the NewSpace business. I think it's primarily because it's aspirational. It's what you want to do. It's what you want to see happen. You need to inspire. This is all good. But at some point, it's going to come down to a business case where you need to put it in writing. Trust and verify. And this has nothing to do with the talk today, but I wanted to say it anyway. So it's a gratuitous side comment, but we need to reinvent government. We don't need to reinvent space. They are still buying the same red car as far as I'm concerned. You can applaud, that's cool. So, let me go down to the fundamentals first on what we at ATK have found to be important for working NewSpace projects. number one, passion for the mission and the vision. Now, we were primarily a manufacturing firm, and we have a passion for high precision, exciting new manufacturing things. I mean, we love astronaut tools, and we love pressure vessels and solar arrays. I mean, we really, truly, when you get down and talk to guys on the floor, they love this stuff. But it's not enough. You need to go to your customer's customer, the vision that the NewSpace person industry has, and have passion for that vision as well. Which leads into the second part of the fundamentals, partnership. You need to put skin in the game. We can't just sit there as a manufacturer and say, just give us your requirements and we'll build it, we'll give you a really good price, and we'll put passion in that. But you've got to put skin in his vision or her vision as well. Make that vision a success as part of it. And last, business case, which is one reason I enjoy sponsoring a business case competition. Your business case changes every day. You need to work it every day. The financing changes. Your partners sometimes change, or new opportunities will come up. Launch opportunities will suddenly appear where you didn't expect them, or go away where you did. Technology doesn't stand still. So if you have your heart set on one thing and a new technology pops up, I mean, you need to be nimble on these things. Rules and regulations. The government's always coming up with new stuff, and you sort of need to be careful on that. In the imagery business, they just opened up some new resolution limits that are better. And some of the export rules have changed and evolved for the better, but those can change on a dime. And one thing that we have found is sometimes your competition is not other commercial industries, it's the government itself. In satellite servicing, we sometimes found that the government wants to compete with us. It's fair, it's good, but just be careful of who the government competition is. So what we've had to do at ATK is build what I call a rapid business case modeling capability. What does that mean? Well, that means we hired a young engineer who had an MBA, and he has a spreadsheet that he works every day, all the time, for all of our different projects. And it's really cool. I mean, you really just get down in it. This is not a big industry thing. This is one guy with a laptop, right? This is your business case engine room. And let me go back up to ATK's experience with NewSpace, and it's the 4 yikes. The 4 yikes that we had to get through before we were finding traction and success with some of our innovative new approaches. Yikes number 1, we couldn't build it. I mean, some of the small satellite stuff, our design engineers and our processes would not allow us to back off of the risk equation. Our culture is to drive risk out of a satellite design. And in NewSpace, you can't do that. I mean, you've got to take some risk in the design. So we've had to find new partners. We've done some of our own independent research. Sometimes we've just tried to build it on our own and crashed and burned. And I will say that IP and managing your IP is pretty important in that process. I think we're past that yikes. The second yikes was working hardware revenue, which is what we did as a manufacturer, versus equity, where you are a partner. You bought in skin in the game with an entrepreneur in NewSpace. Our company didn't know how to handle that. We've gotten there, different types of revenue streams, and the communication is getting there, but that was the second yikes. The third one is we didn't understand the vision. We knew we could build imagery satellites, for example, but we had no clue how to sell imagery data or to work the big data problem, right? So it was hard for us to be a good partner in that case. We were just a vendor, and we had to move past that. At some point, you get to it's frustrating enough where sometimes our folks on the floor will say, gosh darn it, can't we just build something, and not worry about all this revenue and business case stuff. And last but not least, the fourth yikes was we really didn't understand the revenue streams. And by that, I mean it wasn't just the mission, not just selling, the prime product, but sponsorships and internet monetization and hosted payloads and rideshare, and the list goes on and on and on. Now, we have business development people that are good at selling space stuff, but they have not got clue one about how to put advertising on your webpage, right? It's completely different. And all of these skills are needed if we're going to be successful on some of these new space projects. So let me stop here and stop talking and catch my breath for a second while I show you a cool video. Is there volume?
Common opportunity with unprecedented possibility. These visionaries ushered in new eras of commerce and discovery, redefining our history in every era. Like those vanguards before us, at Vivisat, we understand today we stand on the verge of a new space age, representing unprecedented opportunities for those possessing the vision to join us. Currently, there are over 330 satellites in geostationary Earth orbit, servicing an array of critical commercial and governmental interests worldwide. Unfortunately, propulsion capability and fuel capacity limitations dramatically curtail the lifetime of many satellites, forcing operators to forego hundreds of millions of dollars in additional revenue from these otherwise healthy spacecraft. Facing potential loss of service, the only solution to date has been to build and launch new ones, an extraordinarily expensive and arduous endeavor. At Vivisat, we recognize that the limits of this conventional approach represent an uncommon opportunity for commercial growth in the immediate future, and an unprecedented chance to define the future space industry. A dynamic partnership between two industry leaders, Vivisat's objective is to become the premier provider of space logistics, and we have developed a far-reaching three-phase plan to achieve that goal. In phase one, Vivisat will provide in-orbit satellite life extension services utilizing the Mission Extension Vehicle, MEV. A reusable jetpack propulsion and attitude control system, the MEV safely docks to existing satellites, maneuvering them as needed. By extending the lives of satellites already in orbit, Vivisat saves operators hundreds of millions of dollars in replacement costs, empowering them to extend primary satellite mission length while offering a uniquely low-cost alternative that enhances their presence in new markets. In the second and third phases, we'll push the boundaries of convention even farther, creating an entire fleet of MEV-based satellite servicing vehicles in the GEO belt, each with enhanced satellite servicing capabilities, including robotic arms with probe and grasp capabilities for vehicle capture, robotic tools for on-orbit repair, refueling capabilities, installation packages for payloads, power, and command and telemetry systems that enable space construction on orbit. The future of space will be sculpted by architects of innovation. Vivisat encourages all who share our vision to join us in creating a new era of industry and exploration. Vivisat, empower the extraordinary.
Thanks. Maybe a little over the top, but not by too much. We're pretty excited about it, and I won't go into detail. This is sort of our basic roadmap for getting there, putting new capabilities on each successive MEV vehicle that we launch, and transitioning in new technology as it becomes available. And let me stop here just for a second, because this was one of the sort of the new space lessons learned that we had. We had a very solid business case with commercial ComSat companies for extending the life of their current satellites on orbit. But we couldn't quite seal the deal. And it wasn't until we came to them with this longer-term vision that the money guys, even at the commercial ComSat companies, said, "Oh, yeah, I want to be a part of that longer term vision too, you know, and that was really the breakthrough. So even with old space, sometimes a new vision can get you across the finish line. And we are looking at going beyond geo into planetary or asteroid or other capabilities as well. We see ourselves as a logistics company for the solar system, and we're anxious to get started. So my last comment is, you know, I was asked to build, who will build NewSpace? And the answer is, we all will. We're all going to build it, including the old space guys. And I'll stop there and wish you all a great day at NewSpace 2014.